Well, joining us in the studio now to talk about the rise of gender-based violence in South Africa is Nthabiseng Mogale of the Gender Equality Commission. Good evening to you, Nthabiseng, and thank you for joining us. Let's start with the issue of Mduduzi Manana. Is it good enough, firstly, that Cabinet can say we spoke in general terms around the issue and not to the specific case of this individual? Or would you have wanted a stronger message around the revelations that have come out?
It is not enough for them to say that. We would have appreciated actually a stronger, much more clearer and decisive message from Cabinet. Cabinet is the highest lawmaking body, and therefore one wants to believe that the people who entail the Cabinet are actually people of a higher standard than us, because we, much as we have chosen them, we have said we choose you to go there and serve us and lead us.
Symbolism matters. That's why we have campaigns. That's why we have periods in which the focus on gender-based violence becomes something that's important for the country. The fact that we have an MP of the governing party who's already admitted to assault, as we saw last year, now accused in this way, remaining a member of parliament, that surely sends the wrong message.
It does, absolutely, without a doubt, it does. But it sends a wrong message at two levels. At the level of the supposed, the perceived slap in the wrist that anyway we were complaining about with the first incident, and now it shows, it's almost like, you know, just disregarding what the courts were trying to say to him earlier, and continuing in the same vein. So much as a lot of this is about him as a person, and Parliament, the party that has deployed him there, and all of us have got to stand up and say, no, we do not want you to represent us.
Let's take a step back, though. You're a lawyer by training. So much of the messaging around revelations like this, when they come out, becomes around, you know, people are innocent until they're proven guilty. Action must not be taken. People mustn't be quick to condemn until we know the full facts of the story. How does that square up with the scourge of gender-based violence and the accusations that we are seeing?
I think it's a fair departure point for people to say people have got to be proven guilty, to be assumed innocent until proven guilty. That is a fair point of departure. In a democracy, that has got to happen. But we must also understand that that mantra comes against the backdrop of what used to happen during apartheid, where people had to be arrested and locked up and this and that, no trial, no this, no that. So it's about where we're coming from. However, what we are seeing it, how we're seeing it working now, or how we're seeing it applying now, it's almost like the same people who actually advocated for it are now abusing it. But it is a very basic principle in democracy, and it's about access to justice, and it's about having your day in court. It's about the right to be heard, and only then can judgment be cast on you.
You talk about the right to be heard. In quite a number of cases, the men who are accused of this type of action, people like Mduduzi Manana, powerful men, connected men, possibly even well-liked personalities. The narrative is quite often that you know, it's very difficult for victims to speak out when that's what they're faced with.
Yes, it is difficult, but it's not more so with powerful men, but under normal circumstances, it is difficult. You must also remember that we come from a past where even the laws were saying once a woman says this has happened to them, you need to be circumspect about that. So it's difficult based on that. But it is also difficult because one is exposing themselves to judgment that I've been intruded, and it almost like you are trying to avoid that. I hope this does not say anything about me. So it's you know, that this kind of crime is too close to us as women, and that is why it is so difficult to talk about it.
Nthabiseng, on some level, I feel like I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, because this is a question I've been asking over and over and over again. From a Gender Equality Commission point of view, where are the messages failing? We often get these campaigns. We've got Women's Day, we've got Women's Month, we've got 16 days of activism, and on and on and on I could go. Yes. Where are the campaigns failing?
They're failing at every point of the value chain. Number one, the messages are sometimes, or in most cases, actually preached to the converted. And that in itself is a failure, in the sense that maybe we need to broaden and go out there to the non-converted. Secondly, where a violation happens, the handling by professionals in the value chain is a problem.
You're talking about the police, you're talking about the courts.
The police, the health workers who are supposed to examine you, assess you, gather evidence. They are not just filling in a form, they're gathering evidence. A lot of them are not even interested in that. And yet our form in South Africa, the J88, is one of the simplest ever internationally in terms of filling it in. So the gathering of evidence by professionals, health professionals, etc., does not show commitment. And then there's the next step where you go and report. The taking of that evidence, investigating further, gathering it, packaging it, presenting it in line and in correlation with what the complainant presents is also poorly done and managed.
So there's a complete overhaul of the system, if you like, that's required. I mean, a little earlier on, we were showing visuals of Sandile Mantswe, and of course, he was sentenced just, a week or so ago in the Kavarabo Mokoena matter. Yes. There are calls now to impose harsher sentences for perpetrators of gender-based violence, particularly, of course, those who are involved in femicide. If the value chain, as you say, isn't really working, will harsher sentences make a difference?
At face value, I think they will make a difference, but harsher sentences by their nature have never been a deterrent, in the sense that even in South Africa, the Criminal Law Amendment Act of 1997 is very, very harsh. It was in response to the high crime rates after 1994, because it talks about minimum. Unfortunately, we do not understand. It is not about saying, if you rape, you will get 15 years. It says minimum sentence. In fact, Sandile Mantswe is a good example of showing how minimum sentence can work. The mother who was sentenced a few days before or after Sandile, baby M's mother, is another good example of how a minimum sentence works. Our courts need to understand that that is a sheer minimum. And the main objective in 1997, when sentencing was overhauled, was to say, let us respond, let us tighten the screws, crime is going out of hand. We need to do something about it. So it is minimum, and it needs to be understood as that.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Clearly, a complete overhaul of the entire system is going to be needed. Nthabiseng Mogale there from the Gender Equality Commission.